Hi, everyone. Because of the bad weather, we couldn't meet last week. Today, we will go over the second part of chapter 11. This chapter is about managing human resource systems. So now we will go over second part of this chapter. This chapter basically discusses about human resource management. We have an upper division class, which is called human resource management. So most of you will attend or enroll that course and understand more, learn more about human resource management. This chapter just summarizes the human resource management functions such as benefits, recruitment, selection process, performance appraisals, and human resource planning, other HR-related topics are simply summarized in this chapter. Human resource planning, recruiting, selecting, training, compensation, employee separations are discussed in this chapter. Attracting qualified employees and then developing qualified employees, keeping qualified employees are very important stages or procedures in human resource department. We went over all these topics on Monday last week. So basically just quickly show you what we have done. Remember about the forecasting methods, forecasting supply and demand. There are internal factors and external factors impact workforce forecast. So based on all these factors, we do our HR planning. So factors are listed in this slide, so I will not go over quickly. You can see from your chapter, from your PowerPoint slide as well. And then forecasting methods, direct managerial input based on projection of cash flows, expenses, or financial measures. Best guess based on managers' assessments of current head count. Also, anything related with internal, external factors help managers to make decision about the forecasting, about predicting future HR needs. Statistical, historical ratios can be used to determine what we need based on statistical methods such as multiple regression in combination with the historical data. Human resource information system is another topic discussed in this chapter, which is very good for managerial decision-making process. Computerized employee information systems can be used by managers, transaction processing, employee self-service, decision support, which is very important system that help managers to make right decision and quick decisions. So to speed up this process. We'll talk about employment legislation a little bit, but before that, the common data categorized in a human resource information systems are listed in this model. In this slide, you can see about personal data, his work history, the mostly data about employees, like such as promotion data, educational data, and the personal performance data, information, performance appraisals, all of our human resource information systems. Digitalized, computerized information available for managers and supervisors. Managers and supervisors will have access to this type of information to make decision quickly and speed up the process. Employment, federal employment laws is another topic discussed in this chapter about harassment and discrimination, adverse impact and employment discrimination. Sexual harassment laws are also discussed here. In this slide, you can see the summary of federal employment laws, which are listed on the left side and address, website address, you can access in the middle, and also you can see what it's about in the right columns. So Equal Pay Act of 1963 prohibits unequal pay for males and females doing substantially similar work. And Civil Rights Act of 1964 is another milestone law, especially Title VII, Section Title VII prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or original or national origin. Some fundamental basic employment law linked to human resource management or related with human resource management. Age discrimination in Employment Act is one of this, came to the law in 1967, prohibits discrimination in employment decision against persons age of 40 and above. This was limited up to 65. Then this upper limit was lifted. Right now, there is no upper limit. So anyone who are 40 and above are protected by age discrimination in Employment Act. Pregnancy Discrimination Act of 1978 prohibits discrimination in employment, protect women who are pregnant to any type of unfair practice or discriminations. American with Disability Act is another important one, came to the law in 1990, prohibits discrimination on the basis of physical or mental disabilities. Family and Medical Leave Act prohibits workers to take up to 12 weeks of unpaid leave for pregnancy and birth of the new child, adoption or foster care of a new child, illness of an immediate family member, or personal medical leave. So these are some important federal employment law you should be aware of. And another topic about the discrimination, adverse impact and discrimination. Organizations are responsible to provide training to make sure that their employees are aware of all this law and policies, regulations, and they will not violate all these regulations, laws, and rules. So disparate treatment is an intentional discrimination that result in a equally qualified people being treated differently. So the adverse impact, unintentional discrimination that works to the disadvantages of members of protected groups. The first one, disparate treatment, is about individuals, treating people individual in different way because of their personal characteristics. And the second one, adverse impact, is about treating protected group members differently. So in order to understand or to see if there is a discrimination being done in a particular organization, there are some methods can be used to confirm that discrimination exists. One of them is fourth-fifth rule, which is a comparison of selection rates of a protected to a non-protected group to determine if adverse impact has occurred. So if you notice that the law is talking about protected group, in order to discuss about the discrimination, so either an individual or a group must be protected group or individual. So they have to be mentioned in an existing law. So then we can talk about discrimination. If a person, an individual, or a group is not mentioned in a law, then we cannot talk about discrimination. So who is going to make decision? Of course, the judge and the court will make decision based on the historical data provided by the company. Use the historical data and information to see if a discrimination exists in that particular organization. Sexual harassment is another issue discussed in this chapter, and another challenge, or maybe another important issue for managers, supervisors in the organizations. Quid pro quo, employee outcomes depend on whether an individual submits to sexual harassment. Hostile work environments, unwelcome and demeaning sexually related behavior creates an intimidating and offensive work environments. I want you to pay attention that in order to discuss or talk about sexual harassment, a severe case or unwelcome sexually related behaviors must exist. Harassment is also a kind of discrimination. Employer or the organization must provide training to their employees, managers, supervisors to educate their people about discrimination and harassment. Otherwise, the organization may suffer, may have a lot of issues in this regards. Managers can make these mistakes. Common managerial mistakes are listed here. The one is that to assume that the victim and the harasser must be of the opposite sex. So this isn't a mistake. Another one is that harassment can only occur between coworkers or supervisors and subordinates. Another one that only victims can file complaints. No, other people, also managers, can file complaints, and sexual harassment can take place between people who are in the same gender, and it can also happen or can come from female to male, from male to female, not necessarily to be from one to another. Either way is possible. Sexual harassment can take place, so you have to be aware of this. A company is responsible. They have to respond immediately to make sure sexual harassment laws are followed. They have to write a clear, understandable sexual harassment policy, establish clear reporting procedures, be in compliance with the federal, state, and local sexual harassment laws. Another function of HR is recruiting. In order to recruit the right people, select right people to the right position, job analysis must be done. We will discuss these two recruiting methods in detail. So job analysis information include work activities, tool and equipment, and tool and equipment used to do the job, and context in which the job is performed, and personal requirements for performing the job. Once we have correct job description and job specification, then we can select a qualified good person for the position. So job description is a written description of the basic task, duties, and responsibilities required of an employee holding a particular job. A job specification is a written summary of qualifications needed to be successfully perform a particular job. What type of qualifications are needed, who can handle the job, and what tools and qualifications, abilities, and other necessary things needed to handle, to do the job. We have to look at the internal recruiting. So employers may prefer to hire people internally to fill a position, or they may also use external sources to fulfill an available position. A pool of applicants who already work for the company is considered to be internal, and internal recruiting is about promotion from within. Improves employees' morale and motivation. These are some advantages of internal recruiting. Reduce employer time and cost. Job posting is the procedure for internal advertising. So career path is a planned sequence of jobs. So external recruiting is a little costly for the organization. It may take more time to finish the process. Some organizations may prefer to go external recruiting. As you can see from here, different methods can be used. Internet job sites, special events, employment services, walk-ins, advertising, employee referrals, outside organizations are some of external recruiting methods. So recruiting or selecting is very crucial for organization. Application forms and resumes, references and background checks, selection tests and interviews are some steps can be taken during this process. So let's look at something that employers should avoid, some topics about selecting, interviewing, or recruiting people. So from this slide, and if you look at your textbook in detail, you can see you should not ask applicants if they have children, plan to have them, or have or need childcare. So these type of questions are not appropriate. Don't ask them about their age, about disability, physical characteristics. But asking applicants about the citizenship could lead to claims of discrimination on the basis of national origin. However, according to the Immigration Reform and Control Act, companies may ask applicants if they have a legal right to work in the United States. So you have to be careful when you interview people. Another step to be taken is references and background checks. So references and background checks are not always provided by previous employers. Making background checks more effective, have to dig deeper for more information, get permission in writing, document all checks, and consider hiring private investigator in some cases. Some tests can be given to applicants, such as specific ability test, cognitive ability, personality test, work sample test. Assessment center also is a tool can be used to see potential supervisors and managers. We can talk about three types of interviews: unstructured interviews, free flow of questions, and structured interviews. Interviewers uses a standard set of prepared questions. Semi-structured interviews, some structure combined with interviewer's judgment. We can ask some questions in structured interviews, such as situational questions, behavioral questions, background questions, and job knowledge questions. Planning the interview is important. For the structured interview, you have to identify and define the knowledge, skills, abilities, and other characteristics needed for the job. Develop key behavioral question, and each knowledge, skills, abilities, and other characteristics questions for each KSAO. Develop a list of things to look for in applicants' responses. We have to create a relaxed interview atmosphere when we conduct an interview. You have to review the applicant's information, put the applicants at ease, and tell the applicants what to expect, allocate adequate time, obtain job-related information, and describe the job and organization as well. After the interview, you have to review your notes immediately, evaluate the applicants on each KSAO, and determine each applicant's probability of success and make a hiring decision. The feedback should be given to the applicants as soon as possible. Training is another important function under human resource management. Training is an investment for the future, for the organization. Is not a waste of time or waste of resources. We have to identify performance deficiencies. We need to do a survey, listen to customer complaints, survey employees and managers, test employee skills and knowledge to see if training is needed. The objectives and the methods of training are listed in this slide. For example, if the objectives of training is to develop analytical and the problem-solving skills, then case studies or coaching and mentoring or group decisions can be used as a method. For the practice, learn, or change job behaviors, on the job training or role-playing could be one of the methods used for this purpose. Evaluating training is also important. We have to look at the reaction, how satisfied trainees were with the program, how much employee improved their knowledge or skills, how much training improved job performance, how much employee actually changed their on-the-job behavior. So if we have a positive answer for these questions or these situations, like the reaction, the learning, and the behavior, and the outcomes, so that means it is a good activity or important activity for the organization or practice to be done in the organization. Performance appraisal is another important activity or practice in organization. We have to measure job performance and share performance feedback as well. Let's see what we can do as a manager, what type of errors can take place when you do a performance appraisal. So when you measure the performance, we may have three errors: central tendency, halo errors, and leniency errors. So in the first case, we may have an error that all workers are rated as being average. So another option or another possibility, you may rate all workers as performing at the same level in all parts of the job. So in the leniency errors, all workers are rated as performing at the high level. So we have to avoid all these errors to be more objectives and using standardized methods. Measuring job performance improve job performance, improve performance appraisal measures, and train performance raters. So the purpose, the purpose of performance measurement could be different, but generally organizations do this performance measurement to give feedback to their employees, to help them to improve their skills and abilities, and also for the administrative purposes. Performance measurements can take place. So in order to improve performance appraisal measure, we have to use objective performance measurements, quantifiable outcomes, and also some subjective performance measures. So objective performance measures are important. We have to come up with quantifiable outcomes, such as output, waste sales, customer complaints, or rejection rates. Subjective performance measures, trace rating skills, and behavior observation skills. One of the ways in which companies try to improve performance appraisal measure is to use as many objective performance measures as possible. Objective performance measures are measures of performance that are easily and directly counted or quantified. Common objective performance measures include output, scrap, waste, sales, customer complaints, or rejection rates. But when objective performance measures are not available, and frequently they are not, subjective performance measures have to be used instead. Subjective performance measures require that someone judge or assess a worker's performance. So trade rating scales ask raters to indicate the extent to which a worker processes a particular trait or characteristics, such as reliability or honesty. We need to teach raters how to avoid errors and how to improve rating accuracy. A video training and a role playing are often used to provide feedback. So the performance feedback is another crucial topic or activity need to be done. So managers often fail to effectively give employees performance feedback. So 360-degree feedback is the most common one can be used. So many dimensions involved, like boss, subordinates, peers, and the employee. Purpose of feedback is for development or for the administrative purpose. So base performance appraisal feedback session on self-appraisal Have people discuss the feedback they receive with the executive coaches or the people who provided it. Performance appraisal feedback sessions can be about overall progress, problems encountered in meeting job requirements, opportunities to improve performance, long-term, long-range plans, and opportunities. After gathering accurate performance data, the next step is to share performance feedback with employees. Employees become defensive and dislike hearing any negative assessment of their work, no matter how small. So managers become defensive too and dislike giving appraisal feedback as much as employee dislike receiving it. Since performance appraisal rating have traditionally been the judgments of just one person, the boss, one approach is to use 360-degree feedback. So in this approach, feedback becomes from 4 sources, so which is much better than the feedback coming from one sources. Compensation includes both the financial and non-financial rewards that organizations give employees in exchange for their work. This slide shows the 4 basic kinds of compensation decisions. Let's look at the different kind of compensation decisions. Pay level decision. Job evaluation is used to determine the worth of jobs. Pay level decisions are decisions about whether to pay workers at a level that is below, above, or at current market wages. Companies use job evaluation to set their pay structures. Job evaluation determines the worth of each job pay. Job evaluation determines the worth of each job by determining the market value of the knowledge, skills, and the requirement needed to perform it. After conducting a job evaluation, most companies try to pay the going rate, meaning the current market wage. Above market wages can attract a larger, more qualified pool of job applicants, increase the rate of job acceptance, decrease the time it takes to fill positions, and increase how long employees stay. Linking pay to organizational performance is intended to increase employee motivation, effort, and job performance. Under piecework pay plans, employees are paid a set rate for each item produced up to some standard. Sales commissions is another kind of pay variability in which salespeople are paid a percentage of the purchase price of items they sell. The more they sell, the more they earn. Profit sharing is the payment of a portion of organization's profit to employees over and above regular compensation. Employee stock ownership plans compensate employees by awarding them shares of the company's stock in addition to their regular compensation. Stock options give employees the right to purchase shares of stock at a set price. As company profits and the share values increase, stock options become even more valuable to employees. People in the company review very different levels of pay. Within a hierarchical pay structure, there are big differences from one pay level to another. The basic idea behind hierarchy pay structure is that large differences in pay between jobs or organization levels should motivate people to work harder to obtain those higher paying jobs. With compressed pay structure, there are typically fewer pay levels and smaller differences in pay between pay levels. Similar pay levels should lead to higher levels of cooperation, feelings of fairness, and a common purpose and better group and team performance. Hierarchical pay structure work best for independent work. Hierarchical pay structure work best when clear links can be drawn between individual performance and individual rewards. Compressed pay structure seems to work best for interdependent works in which employees must work with each other. Three employee benefits are mandated by law: social security, workers' compensation, and unemployment insurance. Benefits cost organization about 29% of their payroll, with an average cost per employee is $15,000 for a basic benefit plan. Organizations make their benefit plans more attractive to employees is through criteria benefits plans or flexible benefit plans, which allows employees to choose which benefit they receive up to a certain dollar value. So social security, workers' compensation, unemployment insurance are the mandatory benefits must be provided to employees. Some other benefits can also be provided voluntarily to employees, but once these are provided, they have to be provided equally to all employees, regardless of their gender, age, or other personal characteristics. The chapter also discusses about employee separations, such as termination, downsizing, retirements, and turnover. So we will discuss all this in detail. Terminating employees is often mismanaged. In order to minimize problems, firing should not be the first option. Firing should be for a good reason: employment at will, wrongful discharge. Employers used to hire and fire employees under the legal principle of employment at will, which allowed them to fire employees for a good reason, bad reason, or no reason at all. Wrongful discharge is a legal doctrine that requires employees to have a job-related reason to terminate employees. Termination decisions should be made on the basis of job-related factors, such as violating company rules or consistently poor performance. Downsizing is the planned elimination of job in a company, whether it is because of cost cutting, declining market share. Downsizing should always be used as a measure of last resort. Companies should do everything they can to help downsized employees find other jobs. One of the best ways to do this is to use outplacement services that provide employment counseling service for employees faced with the downsizing. You need to provide clear reasons for the layoff and get information to avoid laying off employees with critical skills, training managers in how to tell employees, give employees the bad news early in the day, provide outplacement services and counseling, communicate with the supervisors. Companies use early retirement incentive programs to reduce the number of employees in the organization, to lower costs by eliminating positions after employees retire. The biggest problem with the early retirement incentive programs is accurately predicting who and how many will accept early retirement. The company will likely lose good as well as poor performers, and sometimes more total workers than they expect. Employee turnover is another issue that managers need to deal with. Some turnover can actually be good. For instance, functional turnover is the loss of poor performing employees who choose to leave the organization. Functional turnover gives the organization a chance to replace poor performance with the better replacements. Dysfunctional turnover, the loss of high performers who choose to leave, is a costly loss to the organization. If the company is losing too many high performers, managers should determine the reasons and find ways to reduce the loss of valuable employees. The company may have to raise salary levels, offer enhanced benefits, or improve working conditions to retain skilled workers. One of the best ways to influence functional and dysfunctional turnover is to link pay directly to performance. So overall, in this chapter, we have discussed some human resource management functions, which are really crucial for the company. We just summarized some HR activities, functions, but the detailed information about HR you can get is from a separate course, which is called Human Resource Management course. So that's it for this chapter today. And please email me and call me if you have any questions. And after finishing chapter 13 and 14, then we will have a third exam from last 4 chapters. So I will see you in class on Wednesday. Until that time, please take care of yourself, and thank you very much for listening, and I will see you in next class.